Film Roulette is our weekly segment where the two of us roll a die and the two high rollers get to go see something good. This week, the loser was Casey, and he had to go see 50 Shades of Black.
Yeah.
Well, Greg and I got to go pick whatever we wanted to see. But the loser gets to give the winners an album to listen to for the rest of the week. And Casey lost last week and gave us Megadeth's Dystopia from this year. We'll talk about that and roll for movies next week. And we'll keep doing that every week.
Yeah.
So let's get
Until
into
one
Film
of us
Roulette.
dies.
Who should go first, Greg? Between the two of us.
I'll go first because
Okay.
I once again won't talk super long because it's
Okay.
a movie that's already been discussed on the show.
Yeah.
But I was trying to see something still fairly current and wrap up all my necessary 2015 watching. So on Casey's recommendation, I watched Sisters.
Oh, yeah, what'd you think?
Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. I loved it.
Yeah, it's fun,
Yeah,
right?
man, I had a great time. That's a really funny movie with really good performances.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
It's really funny. I laughed a bunch of times. Bobby Moynihan was great.
He's so good as like that guy that everybody went to high school with or college with, where it's like, oh, he's just gonna make the worst joke.
Yeah, just
but
exhausting.
he's like a little. He does it. He's so endearing about it. Yeah.
And yeah, I really liked the performances from Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. Because,
Yeah.
like, Baby Mama felt like awkward to me. It just didn't land in any kind of way. This one was really comfortable, and I think
It
it
almost
worked.
feels like they had more control with this one.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it's
Well, they're
them-
much more powerful now.
Well, and also it's them working with Paula Pell. So I
Right.
mean, it's I just see it being the three of them going, okay, what do we do in this scene?
Right.
And that I mean, it benefiting from being those three minds.
And it was I think, a smart choice to kind of flip the obvious role choices. If you were just going to hear about what this movie was, and there's the crazy sister and the uptight sister, you'd probably assume that Tina Fey
Yeah,
is going to be the
yeah.
lead. And it
Which
really
is how they did it with
Baby
Mama.
Mama. Yeah. And it wasn't very good. And this was really good. And they were both really keyed into their characters really well. This is the best movie performance Tina Fey has had.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Not that there are many, but still. And every little cameo that showed up, or minor character, John Leguizamo was great.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I
Right.
did
Yeah.
not know that he was in there.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's fucking terrific. And Maya Rudolph, awesome.
So good.
And John Cena again is
Oh,
terrific in a movie.
I thought he was pretty good. Like I thought he
listen,
was like, okay,
that-
it's fun what you do.
that safe word line was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
And perfectly delivered. He's just got a nice presence in these comedies. I don't know, it's pretty good.
He felt very comfortable in it.
Absolutely.
But they just, I feel like they didn't give him enough to do, and maybe I'm trying to maybe I just want him to play against type more.
Right. Well, because he kind of did in Trainwreck a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe I just want to see that from a wrestler kind
For
of thing.
sure. I think we might get there. I don't know. He's popping up in more and more mainstream big comedies. He might get another, after Trainwreck success and his stuff being kind
Yeah.
of like fan favorite.
Yeah.
We might see more then, which would be, I think, great.
Which is fine. I mean, he's got the charisma, so why not Dwayne the Rock
Why
Johnson
not?
him up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's so, Jesus Christ, he's a big man.
He's a very
Fucking
big person.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, holy crap. Yeah, well, wrestlers are a different kind of breed now. Like, it changed,
Yeah.
like, since we had the Hogan era and stuff like that. They got a little bit better with, talking.
Yeah.
And that's why the Rock was able to transition well.
Totally.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, Cena I think he's in that caliber. He's not as good. He's never going to be as big as The Rock.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sisters, I liked pretty much everything about it, and it was long, but it didn't really feel that way.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, weirdly long.
Yeah, 2 hours, which I'm
Usually
pretty
is,
adamant
though,
about.
yeah.
That's no good for a comedy. 90
Yeah.
minutes only.
Yeah.
But it actually really worked.
Yeah, it did. It didn't get. I didn't feel like retready or I was watching the same
Yeah.
fucking thing over and over again, like a lot of these modern comedies. But yeah, just really good. I laughed a lot. There were things about it that I was like thinking back to this afternoon, being like,
Yeah.
remember that? Yeah, really good.
Had a real sense of whimsy about
That's right.
this movie.
I don't sleep anymore, so I just like coast on whimsy and then rage.
Alternate between.
Whimsy and rage.
Yeah.
The Greg LeGros story.
I was trying to do a portmanteau, but I couldn't. Reg Whimsy.
Ramsey. And Ramsey.
Yeah.
The Greg LeGros story.
Yeah, I need to see that. I definitely need to see Sisters.
What did you see?
Okay, well,
Okay.
keeping in
Okay.
well, keeping in the theme of Dan will have to defend his choices. I could have gone and watched whatever I wanted, and I've still missed out on many a movie from last year, including Spotlight and
Yeah.
and there's a lot I need to see.
Yeah.
But I was
you
in
haven't seen Spotlight.
but I was in a mood this week.
Yeah. Have you seen Anomalisa yet?
No. I know, but
those are arguably
I remember
my two favorite movies.
Dan
of
Gorman's
last year.
words too when the trailer for Anomalisa came out. He was like, "I know everyone's all Star Wars, but like this is my Star
Yeah.
Wars."
Yeah, exactly.
I know, but
You saw Star Wars.
life finds a way.
I'm pretty sure Star Wars was your Star Wars, buddy.
I am so excited to watch Anomalisa,
Uh-huh.
but I've been busy, and the time this week was one of those weeks where you had a day to go to the movies,
Yep.
and there was one time during that day that it was going to work,
Yep.
and it kind of dictated what movie I ended up seeing.
Yep.
Although I did want to see this,
Yeah.
but I was in a mood. We already mentioned it earlier. Horror movies. I did go and see The Boy.
Which as a sentence is great.
I went and saw The Boy.
Good, good.
I
I'm very
wanted to
curious
see
about this.
this.
I saw it on a torrent site, tried to watch it, didn't work out.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for this, and I thought I really like the idea here.
Yeah,
I hope they don't fuck it up.
yeah.
And
Tell
then-
people about it because I don't think people totally know what The Boy is.
So this came out this year. It was a new release. This movie, as IMDb describes it, is about an American nanny who is shocked that her new English family's boy is actually a life-size doll. So basically, she is running away from something in America, and she goes overseas and gets a babysitting job.
Right.
And when she shows up, it turns out that the thing that she has to babysit is a creepy china doll
Right.
of a boy, life-size boy size, and they've got this list of things that they need her to do. Like you have to take it around, you have to sit it at the table at every certain point of the day. It's like gremlin shit. It's like
Yeah.
if you fuck these rules up, you're gonna regret it, lady. And I was like,
That was the
that's
tagline for
yeah.
Gremlins.
You're
Gonna regret it, lady. And I was like, I'm interested to see this movie. I like horror movies. There was a time where I went,
support this choice. This is a good.
Yeah.
You got to get out there and see some stuff.
there was a time where I would go see every horror movie, regardless of how shitty it looked.
For sure.
And that's fun to me.
Yeah.
And Emma was like, I'll go see it, and she's usually not down for stuff that looks this shitty.
Yeah.
So we're like, if it's bad, we'll rip on it.
Right.
And then it was bad. Now this is a movie with a great premise.
Yeah.
That really fucks it up big time. I'm gonna spoil some things in this movie
Uh-huh.
because I don't think anyone will care about it. Tom asked if it was an upside down boy.
No,
Did you fall in
obviously he
love?
didn't fall in love with
Yeah,
it. So
don't
Don't you fall in
Upside
love
Down
with
Boy.
that upside down boy?
So,
Your device isn't fully protected.
oh man, Casey's computer's
well, I
blown up.
never wear a condom.
Casey's McAfee is going wild.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they can suck my balls. I don't like their virus protection.
So basically, they've taken something that could be a really great kind of setup, and it is for a minute, and they fuck it up in ways that are just ridiculous because the whole premise of this movie is this doll is going to be super creepy, and she's going to forget the rules, which she does immediately. Like the creepiest family in the world give her a doll.
Like she just forgets, or
No.
the doll doesn't trick
Or
her. Like
she goes, fuck this shit.
She
This
goes.
is a fucking
She does
doll.
that, and
Does she
usually
feed the doll after midnight? Or
No. What
Yeah,
happens
she gives him
is
some chicken.
so there's a guy who comes once a week to drop off like groceries and stuff, and he's
Yeah.
like, kind of, this is weird too, right? But I just deliver groceries, whatever. And so, she decides immediately to ignore everything that the family has told her. And now, if a creepy family gives me a doll and says you should do these things, and the doll's fucking creepy as hell, I'd be like, I should probably try it for a while.
I'm
Yeah.
learning a
And
lot
if I
about
get-
you, Dan Gorman.
I feel like if somebody gives
I might
me-
have a job for you.
Yeah, well, she's a shitty babysitter. What if it was a real boy and they were like, don't feed him gluten or something, and she's like, you don't know anything, gluten. Like, that's basically what she does. She's gluten. She's basically like, oh, whatever, and she like tosses the doll somewhere and like puts a blanket over and like, don't look at you anymore. And I'm like, gee, just like, I don't know, humor them. It's their baby
Because
China
aren't
boy.
they paying her like an
Yeah, like
an
they're-
absorbent amount of money?
they're paying her
An
money.
Exorbitant amount of money.
Yeah, they're paying her. She should do her job. So she's like, "Fuck that!" And then weird things start happening. But for the first hour of this movie, the only scares in this entire thing, pretty much, are dreams. And if you've seen the trailer, there's a thing where she goes up to like the picture of the family where the real boy's on the picture, and something jumps through the picture, and I was like, "Yeah, that's the movie I want. That's a dream."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then she wakes up like, "Oh shit!" And then it becomes to the point where there's like 3 straight up jump scare dream sequences where it's like, whoa, oh, never mind, everything's fine for now, and you're like, no,
Everything
off.
isn't fine.
Yeah,
I'm
not
watching
fine
this
with
terrible
shitty
movie. Yeah.
And then eventually it starts to get weird, and there's a scene where she's in the room and the doll is outside and she hears it move for the first time, and you see its little feet walk up to the door, and he like knocks on the door and with his little like china hand, and it makes a little like clink clink clink, and I was like, that's approaching creepiness. But then he's like talking with a little like Cockney accent. He's like, hello, Jessica.
No.
Yay! He's like, come out to play.
I'm evil, I am.
Oh, man.
He's like, I swear I'll be good. And then he puts down a little plate and he's like, I made you your favorite. And she opens
What,
the door.
he
and
made her food?
And it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which she
A
made
full
earlier.
size one, or like
A-
one
a
like
little-
his little
a
size, like a
full-sized
little
one. He's like, I know how you like them.
That's really weird.
It's
That's
so
super
not
weird.
creepy.
That gets into like dolls territory.
Yeah.
What
They walk,
you're
they
doing
talk,
right
they
now
kill.
is very creepy.
No, it's like
yeah.
funny. It's like, hello, hello, mate. Like
Uh-huh.
it's not scary.
Yeah.
And then it turns out
Is the family? Oh yeah, the family is British,
the
right?
family, yeah.
It's not like just the doll talks that way.
No, she's in Britain,
Okay,
and
yeah.
so the family leaves. Well, the family left, and we in the middle of the movie we get a scene where we see that they've written like a note that says, "She's yours. You can have her. Leave us alone." And then they seal it and send it to the house, and then pick up a bunch of rocks and walk into the ocean and murder themselves. Just like commit suicide in the ocean.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, oh shit, what's this thing? And so the backstory of the boy is when he was a kid, he was kind of weird, but it turns out that he was so kind of weird, he murdered this little girl. But they play it out like, oh,
I'm a little bit weird.
but they play it out that way. They're like,
I have a very specific
Yeah.
predilection in that I will sometimes murder a
murdering
girl.
you. But they play it that way. The guy's like, oh, he's
It's a little weird, I
Yeah.
know.
Bear with
Yes,
me.
I'm a little quirky.
Bear with me. But they play it out like the guy's telling her about the kid, and he's like, "There's pub talk, and then there's the truth. There is in the middle of like exaggerations or something." And he's like, "He just was a weird kid," but then you find out later he's a murderer. And I was like, "That's not just weird kid."
Right.
But so basically, the police come to get this kid that like murdered somebody, and then the house was on fire, and they're like, the boy died in the fire before the police could get him, and then the doll showed up or something. And then
Wow, that's the explanation.
they
The boy died, and then there was a doll.
well, they do make reference of like it's probably like a grief doll that the parents have like that the mom got or something to like deal with their grief of losing a child. Anyway, the thing I'm getting to is at the beginning of the movie, the grocery dude is talking to her and tells her how long ago this happened, and she's like, he'd be about your age. And then I was like, there's two things that are happening in this movie. Either he is the boy or the boy's still alive and he's just his age. And that's what it ends up being.
It's not the grocery boy.
It turns out that the girl has this safe haven background where like she's running away from like an abusive boyfriend to Britain. And then he shows up and he's like, what the fuck, man? I'm here. I flew over here, I guess, for some reason to be like, fuck you, girl. And then he wakes up in the middle of the night and it says like get out in blood on the wall, and he's like, you did this to her, and she's like, no, I didn't, and she's like, it was the doll, and then he smashes the doll and it like smashes into a million pieces.
Yeah.
And then you hear this like big unlocking sound in the middle of the house, and I was like, this shit's about to get sweet, because all of a sudden there's this huge noise and you're like, shit is about to happen, because up until this point it's a supernatural movie. You think you think like this boy doll is up to some no good. And some ghostly goodness is about to happen. Like I'm thinking this fucking monster's gonna come out, or like something, because it's like the whole house shakes. And then the guy goes over to a mirror to like listen, and the mirror explodes like and throws him across the room, and it's so awesome. And I was like, this movie's about to fucking light up. And then
I hope you were saying all of this out loud in the theater.
I was like,
Shit, your butt will get crazy.
I did turn to him and be like, oh yeah, like I was like, oh shit. And then
Threw your popcorn at the screen.
yeah, and then like this weird like ceramic face comes out, and I was like, shit. But then it keeps coming out, and it's just the boy with a ceramic doll face, like a mask.
Yeah.
And he's just been living in the walls the whole time. And
So who
and then
was he walking over?
that's
with
what
a
I was
little
about
doll
to say.
and, like,
And then I had a
knocking on the
flashback
door?
to the like creepy things, and I was like,
Yeah.
so he's like holding this doll, making a peanut butter and jam sandwich, going like, hello, Jessica. Like I was like, that's not scary.
No.
Is that what the voice was like when it was a? Did it sound like a man going, "Hello,
Sort of. It just sounded like a little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they were trying to make like a little creepy.
Well, that's
kid.
stupid.
And then I was
this
like,
sounds
it's
like
so
a
bad.
supremely disappointing
It's bad.
movie.
It's
Yeah.
really bad. If there was any more jump scares that turned out to be dreams, I would have been really pissed. And then they could have gone somewhere interesting with it, and they didn't. And it's real shitty. And I was really upset that the movie was so close to Housebound.
Ah.
So
Yeah, because I was gonna mention that
not
when
to
you
spoil
said,
too much about what is close between the two movies, but it bears a striking resemblance to the
Yeah.
finale of Housebound.
which is a fucking awesome.
Which is a great movie. Don't go see The Boy. Go watch Housebound. It's
Okay.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
This was garbage.
Yeah.
And we had a shitty crowd, and there was this asshole behind us that was talking the whole movie. But Emma and I were making fun of the movie, so I didn't feel comfortable turning around and saying "shut the fuck up" because we were kind of loud too.
Yeah, right.
So I was kind of like, I'm in this gray area where I can't be like, "Shut up!" But
Shut up! I can't hear my sweet burns.
yeah. So don't go see that piece of shit.
Yeah, okay.
So that's our movies.
Yes.
Casey,
Yeah.
you watched a movie
Uh-huh.
called 50 Shades of Black.
Yeah.
Yes. Now,
Um,
what is this movie? Refresh my memory.
So this is Marlon Wayans' new spoof from the director of A Haunted House and A Haunted House 2, the previous films that he worked on.
From the director of It Doesn't Matter.
Yeah, so this movie is obviously a spoof of 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
An inexperienced college student meets a wealthy businessman whose sexual practices put a strain on their relationship.
I'm so glad it worked out this way. I don't, if you were listening last week, it was a very dramatic die roll. And I think it only had to happen that way because you saw 50 Shades of Grey, right?
I did.
So you were the perfect person to see this movie.
Yes.
It was made for you.
Absolutely. And the fact that I've seen 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
I absolutely it does play into this.
Okay, good.
Because this movie basically just follows 50 Shades of Grey. It doesn't really
it's
even
like the
deviate.
same plot.
Same thing.
The whole thing?
The whole thing.
Yeah.
And it basically just kind of goes like, here's if this scene was crazy. Here's if this scene was crazy. Looks like it and everything. Okay, so long story short, not bad.
Yeah. So this is the thing. I pasted a review to Casey from a Toronto reviewer who basically said, compared to the other movies, this isn't as bad. And I actually saw a couple reviews that were saying, in terms of how bad spoofs have gotten, the joke hit-miss ratio on this is not as bad as usual, though
Right.
it's still pretty bad.
It's still about 20/80.
Okay.
And that 20% is not a strong 20%. by any means. It's just there's something about it where your expectations are so low.
Yeah.
That you're kind of like every time that there's something that you kind of chuckle at, you're like, well, good for you. And Marlon Wayans, who normally I have really disliked him in everything I've seen, except for Requiem for a Dream, in
Where
which
he's
he's
fucking
actually
amazing.
quite
Yeah.
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And in this movie, it shows you kind of like, you kind of go like, he's a really charismatic actor. He just doesn't know what comedy is. But for what this is, which is all of the dumbest, like the first joke in it is because she's supposed to be really plain and you know, like nothing to look at kind of thing. She looks in the mirror and the mirror cracks. Like
Okay.
that's the joke.
Yeah.
The joke is that she's so ugly.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That joke is not serviced at all by the fact that she is insanely attractive. And the best thing about this movie,
Okay.
she's genuinely funny.
Huh.
So she sells everything where he tries his best and sells more than you'd think.
Yeah.
There's more little things. Like one of the first things is she's like at her job and she's got like a pencil and like there's a provocative moment in 50 Shades of Grey where she's like kind of has the pencil in her mouth and you're like, it's like a dick.
Now, if I've seen the Wayans comedy in the past,
Yeah.
like from some of the scary movies and stuff, I just
Yeah.
assume that they're going to make it a CGI dick. My expectation in this is a CGI dick's coming out of someone's nose or something.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's the thing about this movie is that it feels a little more understated than the scary movies
Interesting.
or
Yeah.
haunted houses or whatever.
Because,
Because
good Lord, those movies are like the scene where he fucks the doll in Haunted House 2. Is that the one I saw?
Yeah, you saw two, I saw one.
Yeah, it's a long scene.
yeah.
A long scene.
Well, because he thinks that that's funny, and there's there's a ton of that in this.
Yeah.
Of like Marlon Wayans thinks like when he's actually having sex, he must be laughing the whole time because he must like this is the funniest thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
I am
Sex,
putting
right?
this in every movie. But it's again, it's like the lovable loser that you're kind of rooting for.
Right.
That's what this movie is, and it really succeeds on the strength of the main girl and of Marlon Wayans not being objectionable entirely in this movie.
This is not the conversation I was expecting.
I know.
To have.
Well, look, it's not good, and you shouldn't see it.
I'm
Okay.
not going to.
Yeah.
No. Like, it's not changing lives or anything, but I sat there trying to not like it because I was so mad at you guys that I had to go see it because I rolled a fucking 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I lost, but I was eventually won over. I mean, definitely by the end of it, I was like, okay, I've had enough. I don't
Yeah.
need to see Marlon Wayans' giant, swollen, pulsating balls.
What?
I don't need to see that,
Ew.
but I did have to see it. There's like public domain jokes everywhere. It's so dumb, but and Florence Henderson is in it, and it's gross.
Yeah.
And like I don't need to see her fuck or talk about her pussy. And yet here we are. Russell Peters shows up, and that's not good for
That's
anyone.
weird.
Oh.
But you know what? I was like, I don't hate this. Made me like Marlon Wayans a little bit more, and I was like, I thought that was impossible.
Yeah.
So
That's-
we'll call it a win.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
And the other people, like when I had to go see Grown Ups 2,
Yeah.
the other people in the audience really enjoyed
Really?
themselves.
Okay.
So I was
Right.
like, yep.
So you're
This-
becoming one of them.
I
You're
guess I
on
must
your way.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, bet, bet.
We've broken
Next
you.
one you'll like 50%.
Yeah.
Next
Yeah.
one.
and then like in about a year, I'll be sitting fucking dead center going,
Yeah.
I saw his dick.
Well,
yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
Should.
You heard it here first. Casey loved it.
Yep.
Yeah.
This has been a presentation of the Modern Superior Media Network.